Cool.
Hi, and welcome to the Bookkeepers Podcast. Today, I am joined by Natasha Everard, the owner, the sole practitioner of Bewitching Bookkeeping. I'm so happy to have Natasha here. Me and Natasha have known each other for a long time, but not had many conversations just because we're not always been at the same events. But recently, we met at Accountex, and I was like, Natasha, you need to come on and share with us everything, all the pros about being a sole practitioner. And yes, I'm really happy to have you here, Natasha. Natasha, do you want to give us a little bit of a background and insight into you and your bookkeeping journey?
Okay, so hi everybody. I am a bookkeeper, proud bookkeeper. I am a sole practitioner. I run my own bookkeeping practice called Bewitching Bookkeeping. I have been in the industry since I was 18, and this year I turned 48. So that's many years. In those years, I've done many different roles, which helps me with many different types of clients. I primarily love things like e-commerce and anything that uses tech to my ultimate capabilities. I love tech. But I have a passion really for helping others. And that's what I've done over the last sort of November, gone bonkers with that in an extreme way, basically.
Love that. So when was actually Bewitching Bookkeeping born, this version of your business?
So Bewitching Bookkeeping started about 7 years ago. Prior to that, I worked for an AAT training provider as their student mentor. So I was actually helping people become bookkeepers. They'd done their AAT QB qualification and they didn't know how to convert their bookkeeping knowledge from the books into real-time information. So I was helping them with the transition of that while kind of doing a couple of part-time clients. So nothing really too major. But I kind of got a bit jealous of their success and what they were doing. So I took the plunge in the February of that month to leave my job and actually just drop myself right in the deep end. And that's where it's gone from there. I'm not saying it's brilliant all the way. I've had some highs and some very lows, but I'm still here and I'm still loving what I do.
Amazing. So when you that transition, we talk a lot about the fact that, I was just in a members call actually, and we had a taxi driver, a nurse, we've had a driving instructor, a chiropodist, all moved from their self-employed roles or employed roles in public service and moved over to bookkeeping as a choice. And we do think, I'm like you, I started on my journey at 17, 18 in accountancy and bookkeeping. And bookkeeping found me mainly when I had my first child, because I was like, I'm going to stop doing the accountancy thing. Bookkeeping's more suitable for me. But not everyone started out at the beginning of their adult life doing bookkeeping. Most people, I'd say the majority, transition and it finds them for whatever reason at a certain time. But it's hard to find your first clients, even if you've always been in the industry. If you've never been a business owner, what did you do to go and get those first clients 7 years ago?
The reason why I found my first clients was because you've got to have that kind of connection to tell other people what you're passionate about, what you want to do. And it's through my love of telling my friends at the time. They said, oh, we know somebody who needs help. And they're happy for you to come in on a Saturday morning, do it, so it wouldn't affect my work and things like that. It was basically the word of mouth through my friends that got me my clients, and they're still my clients now. They're one of my biggest clients. I think I found the way that it wasn't just helping others that I wanted to do this one. I found that I couldn't work with others. I find working in an environment of an office with loads of people wasn't the right environment for me. And I think that boosted my will to start my bookkeeping practice and make it something that was right for me and not for anybody else. I think when you have your own business, you can control the parameters a little bit more. When you work with somebody else and you're controlled by their times, their dates, what you have to do each day. And it didn't work for me. It really didn't work. And this is why I was so thankful that my friends knew of these people, that the ladies were retiring who'd done the bookkeeping, and it gave me the opportunity to try and start it. And then once I started, I absolutely loved it.
I think it's really underestimated, the power of our family and friends network when we are starting out, we assume that they don't know anybody,
No.
that need our help. But it's about being able to articulate, like you did, what it is that you do, so that they were like, oh, actually, I know somebody. And I think that is something that we talk about a lot. Have you actually told? I like to think, could you explain what you do to an 8-year-old? Could an 8-year-old explain to someone else what you do? Because that's the kind of level we need to get to for our family and friends. They really want to help us, but a lot of the
Yes.
time they think we're Chandler Bing out of Friends and got no idea what it is we do and who we help, and they don't know what our job title is. So
Yeah.
they don't know how to help. But if we empower our friends to help
Yeah.
us, then they will do their best.
And they are the most powerful referrers, not second to none of our clients who refer us. But it's like you say, we have to bring our job, what we want to do, down to the basics for them, so they know exactly what we do. I probably realise that my husband probably doesn't even still know what I do every day, but he knows the gist of it, and he's a good referrer as well. So it's the kind of thing that these connections with our family. And one thing I will say, don't actually do any work for your friends. It never works out fine. They don't like your answers on things. So friends are fine, but not direct friends. That's my top tip.
Yeah. I've had to I've got an entrepreneurial family, and I've got
Yeah.
brothers and sisters that have been clients, or they are suppliers of mine actually, and we have a rule that we charge full price for everything. If
Yeah.
you want my services, there's no mates rates, because it means that there'll be some resentment. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's what you mean. If you do things for friends and you go, oh, I'll do it a bit cheap, then you
Yeah.
resent them. You don't give them the service you would want to, because you can't afford to, because they're not paying you correctly, and it all just goes a bit wrong. So you've got to make a
Yeah.
decision. But that's exactly what you're saying there, Natasha. You get to choose. When we build our own practice, we get to choose and design what that looks like, and the boundaries. You can have whatever boundaries you want. You get to choose. So you mentioned there that you didn't really like working in an office with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and you are an absolute champion for the sole practitioner.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What's driven you to, you know, build a business that is all about you, basically? It's about your clients, of course, but about building the team of one.
I think the realization many years ago, like I said, I can't work with other people's. It makes my anxiety worse. I can't control factors, and that's a bad thing for me. There's nothing more powerful than actually doing the select role that you want to do. You can be very selective with what services you offer. You are the choice, so you have the power to control what software you use, how many hours you work, which type of clients you want to work with, the services you provide. It's so empowering being a sole practitioner. Yeah, there is negatives, but the ways are so much brilliant. And the thing is with me, I realized many years ago, when I fell in love with the technology that accounting brings to us, there is so much technology out there. We use technology as though it is our employee. And that's what I believe, that there's nothing you can't do as a sole practitioner. Yes, maybe you can't scale massively, but you can scale really quite big depending on what kind of services you offer. So for me, it was all about the fact that I was more interested in getting the balance that my mental health and me was happier, rather than it was more health than like financially that I was doing my job for. And I absolutely love, like I say, the technology that I use so that I can control my own work, and basically keep my clients happy. And the fact that our industry is going to go on a massive change again in the next few months with AI, it's only going to enhance us even more. It's going to make us have superpowers that enables the whole practitioners to really thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been a sole practitioner in the past, and I've had big teams in the past, and they both have pros and both have
Yeah.
cons. And I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. And it's definitely about looking at your values and your own health, mental health,
Yeah.
physical health, what that means for you. And it's interesting that we do need to look and think, right, what do I want this to look like? So some of the things that obviously thinking about when you're a sole practitioner, we have to mitigate the risks that come from being a sole practitioner. Things like illness or having some time off, maybe the holidays or Christmas or whatever, if you want to have some time down. But also if something happened to you and you needed to not work. So how do you mitigate those risks, Natasha, so that you still are stress-free while running a sole practice?
Okay, so first of all, is having a good continuity of practice in place. That's the number one step. The second is I have a little chart of each of my clients. So I have they're all done in quarters. So I know how many VAT returns I've got each month, how many payrolls I've got. When I'm talking to potential new clients, I always check that before I onboard them, that I'm not going to overload myself in certain periods and things like that. These are kind of little things you wouldn't think about. You're thinking, oh, great, I'm going to get more clients, more money, fantastic. But it's this time and the time it takes to do the jobs. I'm always looking at reviewing my software choices as well. Software evolves daily. Take, for example, Engager. Engager is absolutely awesome. It's one of the top ones out there. It evolves daily. And if Johan had his thing, it would evolve every minute. But for me, softwares like that will take a lot of the stress from you if you keep up to date with the software. So it's also making sure you have time out to review your processes to make sure that you're not overpowering yourself. You can slot holidays in, you can slot times in. I have a thing now where I don't book anything on a Friday. Friday's my choice. So it's either do my client's work, it's either look at softwares, it's either planning, or it's even actually just to sit in front of my telly and watch my MotoGP. It's my day, but it's not actually anything planned on that. And it gives you the balance that if something takes a little bit more longer than you do, I've tried things like Motion to try and help me with my time management. It just causes more anxiety because it's pressure, like telling you what to do all the time. So now I've come with this thing that I have this quarterly plan where it has all my time scales in that one. It's perfect for slotting in things that I really want to do personally. And I think we forget all of our time that we are trying to run a business, but the primary goal is we're running a business to have a personal life, that we can do things. And that should be our number one priority.
Yeah, because or else we might as well just go and get a job.
Exactly. So I think it's all about making sure that when you talk to potential clients and taking on any future work, you look at what you've already got. Can you cope with that? Is there an automation process you've not looked at that can help you? Or is it just not suitable for you and your practice at the moment? And you have to be harsh as well. Don't be sad about saying no. It's your practice, it's your rules, it's your life. Don't be ever scared to say no. I am guilty of not saying no once and it burnt me badly. So I am now very, very slow at making decisions because I want to make it the right choice for me and my practice and my family.
So it sounds like you've really you've got a forward looking plan. You look at the ebbs and flows of the work.
Yeah.
You're also slotting in downtime. Do you think that like having that Friday off? I speak a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, clients and bookkeepers and accountants alike. I ask this question to them if they're struggling, and I say to them, when you go on holiday, do you get ill? And they're like, well, yeah, sometimes. Maybe at the end of the holiday, or maybe when I return after the holiday, or maybe first day of my holiday. And I'm like, your cortisol's up here. You are working too hard. And I often say, like, how can we? I don't like to say to myself, how can I relax every day so that I feel better when I'm on holiday? For me, that mentally feels like it's a cop out. So what I do on my to-do list is, how do I reduce my cortisol today? Because then it feels like I'm doing something, even though the whole point of it is not to do something. If you get what I mean, it just helps me understand. And then I think because I don't want to be ill, I'm in August. I'm having my longest holiday I've ever had in my life. We've got a 3-week holiday.
Yep.
Never had one in. I've only ever had 1 2-week holiday. I'm like, this is big for us.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, how do I go on holiday for 3 weeks without being ill? Because when we run high on cortisol all the time, you come off, and then you drop, and then your body gets your immune system really suffers. So it sounds like to me, Natasha, that by having those Fridays where it's not dictated by anyone else, and it sounds like your whole business is run by you in the fact, what do I want to do? How do I want to be? And you're designing it, but you're also designing a cortisol reducing day in
Yeah.
your week. And I love
think
that.
that's it. Yeah, I think the fact is we run ourselves into the ground and we don't realise, like you say, and a lot of us have time out. When we go to these big conferences, it takes a lot out of us. And it was the first time this year I went to Accountants London and it knocked me for six because I wasn't used to it. And I think this is the way now that if I can actually schedule more me time, I actually schedule time in the day. So my husband goes to work a stupid time in the morning. So I start work just after 5 in the morning. But then at lunchtime, I have a few hours break. Now we've moved house and I've got a beautiful big garden. I go and garden or play in the garden for a few hours. And then I come back and start work again at 4 o'clock until he comes home later. And that's my rules, my day, my business. And clients don't fall out with me because they don't care as long as they get a response when and it's about making your expectations to them quite visual when you have that first engagement, that this is the way you run your practice. You are available, but sometimes if you're not, don't worry, I will get back to you and things like that. You have to put yourself first in everything you do. I'm sorry, but that's the way that businesses should be run. If you're a sole practitioner, you are everything. So your health, your welfare, your everything is important to you. So if you're feeling a little bit burnt out, stop what you're doing. Make sure that you're okay with your client's work and you've got to a stage where you can leave it for an hour or two. Nothing's going to happen, but those 2 hours may be just the step that you need to get a fresh look at something. And especially if you look at a problem and you can't solve it, walk away, completely walk away and come back to it.
Oh, I love that. How many clients are you looking after on your own, Natasha?
I have currently just under 50 clients, but they are anything from tiny clients to some that are £5 to £6 million a year. With one of them is about 30,000 transactions a month.
Wow.
So it's not about the amount of clients, it's about the hours they fill doing the work. And I think this is where it's enlightening. I've seen a few posts on social media really that have really come home to that, though. People brag about how many clients they got. No, it's how many hours are you fulfilling your client's work and how many it takes, because it doesn't matter whether you have 1 or 2 clients. You could be actually putting hours into them to make sure that they are really, really positive in their work and you're fulfilling the criteria that you've engaged with. I think I've seen a post from Libby Walcott about that, and I really resonated with that fact. It doesn't matter whether you've onboarded 30 million clients a month. If you only board 1 client or none, it doesn't matter, because you're doing it your way. Go for it.
And I think as well that the key is retaining the ones that you want as well, by not keep bringing on clients. Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of clients for because when I had a team and we only had like 86 clients for 12 of us, but like you said, we had no tiny ones, so it's very different. It doesn't, like you say, but for me, that you're giving me anxiety, Natasha, because I'm thinking, oh my God. So my problem is when I have a client, I tend to think like they're an extended, like I feel like another child of mine.
Yeah.
I take so much responsibility, and this is why I've had to build a team for my health, because I had to and everyone's different, and I've been a sole practitioner before and it's worked for me. But there's other times why it didn't work for me. But you saying that you've got 50 clients, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot.
But they've all got different services. So some are VAT only, some are obviously, all of them are bookkeeping, but some are just payroll ones. So it's a balancing act, but it's not like, and this is where my chart of the quarterly thing, I know how much each of them roughly take a month, and that's why I'm not overloading myself. So and there is potential for some of them to grow, and that's the thing. You have to leave space for these clients to grow as well and take on additional services. I'm just branching out now into management accounts because I fell in love with Futurely over the last couple of months, and that to me is the natural progression from bookkeeping, because it's just taking your bookkeeping and making superpowers of it and making it even better. So it's not actually the fact that I'm looking for loads more clients. It's probably I'm just going to grow with the clients. Yeah.
Please don't get any more.
That's the thing. But some sole practitioners can have a hell of a lot more of that, especially if they offer self-assessments. I don't do that.
Right.
I just do
Yeah.
bookkeeping, payroll, and VAT returns. And that to me, and some of the clients are very similar in mannerisms in the way that they run their business. So the automation process has helped that they follow the same process. So you can automate a lot of the procedures. And the fact is there's so much more that's going to come in to help sole practitioners and those in practice as well. Such as the AI bots and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at one at the moment where I shall be starting with it in the next couple of months, and it's going to help me be more able to have those conversations with the clients because I have more time rather than processing it. It'll be able to have the conversations and work with them a lot more in detail.
So do you do your own bookkeeping as well, and your own invoicing and admin and diary management and MLR, and like you wear all the hats?
I don't have any virtual assistants at the moment. I work solely on my own. I'm quite happy at that. Like I say, the anxiety couldn't cope with the assistance from others. I've had many discussions with VAs that they are absolutely flipping awesome, but it's the control factor with me. It's the anxiety. And I think if you do it right in the first place I use Tango a lot. So Tango is the extension onto Google Chrome. It's free to use on things. And I've mapped up most of my processes on that. So if there was ever a problem, it's all there. So I think those who, like me, who have control problems can excel as a sole practitioner because we are so mindset is like this. We know what we're doing. And that's why I love investigating software solutions that makes that blinkering a lot more easier.
Amazing. You mentioned earlier continuity of practice
Mm-hmm.
and it's being very important. How does somebody that's new in practice, sole practitioner, find the right person? Are you looking for somebody? And this is why, you run a community, I run a community. This is why community is so important, because how else are you going to find this person? They're not just going to turn up on your door one day and say, I'll take over your practice if anything goes wrong. Like, we need to actively find and get to know someone, and they've got to have similar values to you. But would you say your continuity of practice person or business, are they similar to you, or are they completely different? How did you go about it?
Mine are completely different to me. The continuity is set up with an accountant who has their own bookkeeper as well. Because the relationship with the accountant is so good, and I know that they know my clients because they actually do my clients' year ends.
Nice.
So that their team would be my continuity, and it's always been in place with them because I know that what they trust my bookkeeping. They know it's there. They know what's because they do the year end, year out. That to me was the partnership that I needed, and they're the ones I go to if I have any queries and things like that. I think it's all about trust, stability. It doesn't matter whether they're doing the same kind of sole practitioner or limited companies, massive, great big thing. If you have that connection with them, maybe you've worked on them with another project, you know how they work, they know how you work, so they can understand your processes and why you do things the way you do. And I think that's half the battle with continuity. We all have our own ways of doing things. As long as we get to the same way at the end, it doesn't matter how we get there. And I think that was why I chose that company, because they know how I work with the bookkeeping. They know where I store things. They know where, if they need to check the VAT year end, where I store all the VAT files and things like that. So it's kind of, that's the partnership. I think you can just post in our communities. We've both got fab communities where you can post and get continuity. But if you have continuity, do make that connection with them, do have conversations, do make them aware of things. I have a little update that I post in my continuity folder every month of any queries that I have outstanding. And it's for my personal benefit more than theirs, because if I forget things, I know I've updated this continuity plan with any queries that are outstanding, or why somebody hasn't given me an invoice and why I put it in with no VAT or zero rated VAT because I'm not claiming it because they haven't provided. But the conversation is in there. I mean, you could go as far as inviting them to things like your practice management suite, if that helps. But for me, it's this continuity document where I just have a spreadsheet with any notes in each month, and I do it as part of my month down closure of each client.
Amazing. And so it sounds to me, Natasha, that you're absolutely absolutely storming it with your sole practitioner business. And yes, you're running your business on your own, but it doesn't mean you're on your own. It sounds like even though you haven't got anyone in the team, but you've got software. So you have account managers who you can talk to because you're really close to the software. And you've got this continuity of practice partner, an accountant outside of the business. So you've got complete autonomy over your business, but you're not in business on your own because you've got your community and you're able to go to events. So I think it's been a really interesting conversation because I didn't build a business like that for different reasons, but it's so, I'm like in awe of how you're doing it. And I don't know how. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. And there's also something of me that was like jealous of the autonomy and the fact that you was doing it all by yourself and you haven't got an answer to anyone. That sounds amazing. But what you have done is you are acting as the CEO of this business, even though you fill all of the roles underneath.
Yeah.
I think and I hope you'll agree with me, Natasha, what's different about you and how maybe I built a sole practitioner business in the past was I was the sole practitioner of operations.
Yeah.
And I didn't move up from that level and sit at that CEO and think, well, what about all these other elements? I just did the work. And that's that's a self-employed freelancer bookkeeper that maybe what you've done is you've stepped into that role as business owner and taken ownership. Okay, if I'm going to do this on my own and I'm going to fill all these seats, what's the software, what's the systems, what's the processes to make sure. And so I think that is the massive difference between when people say, oh, I work for myself.
Yeah.
That's what you've excelled at.
I think the priority is to make yourself a client in your business.
Mm.
So you invest in your clients, so you become a partner of their business. But don't forget to be the partner with yourself because you can't run on empty. So this is why I say, like, my Fridays is my partnership days for me. So it could be anything I want to. It could be going to a coffee shop. It could be going out with my husband on our new toy that we've got and things like that. So it's kind of like, if you don't do that in the first place, then you forget yourself in the whole place. And I've had to remind myself that where I broke my own boundaries, and we all do it. But that's why we're human, and that's why we learn greater from our mistakes and for trying things than not trying them at all. And that's why I champion sole practitioners so much, because we are just as powerful as those who've got multiple clients, multiple companies and big shop fronts and things like that. I think it came from, I went to an event last year where they just saw that I was a bookkeeper on my tag, and I was with somebody who said CEO, director, and the software supplier ignored me. And this is why I started championing it. And this is why I've done my little rant the other day, the fact that we are very powerful because we have the power to instantly decide whether we're going to choose you. And that's why I champion certain softwares, because these softwares have become partners in my business. So they've invested their time in me, like I've invested my money and time to learn their software. And that's why I've moved a lot of mine to a green company, because they really do take pride in making you a success. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether I've worked with them or not, they really do invest in everybody who subscribes to their software. And that's so powerful to know that you've got people like that. I've got the community behind me. I've got the community of creative sole practitioners, all wanting each other to be as successful as everybody. And it's like your brand is amazing, what you've developed. And you're proving that you're helping people take that step to become successful. And I think this is where people out there really need to open their eyes, have a look what's out there, and choose the path that they want to do, not be dictated what social media says. There is lots of people helping support, like you guys, like me, and we go out there because we just genuinely want to help people. We all want to see everybody succeed, and we thrive on other people's success, not necessarily our own, but we love the fact when other people go up there and succeed, we feel that's like our little reward. That's our payments, basically, for going out there and say, God, you're amazing. Well done, you. great. And that to me makes me feel so much better than probably winning a client or getting an invoice paid. It's the fact I see others succeed from probably maybe reading my book or joining my community or joining yours. It's the fact that our community is so much stronger when we work together.
100%. And we're absolutely proof of this, Natasha. Like, we could be absolute enemies, you know, because we are building, but we're not, because collaboration. And I've got so much to learn from you and what you've done. You know, you've been running your community much longer. I mean, when I started my community, I didn't even know yours existed at the beginning, because I didn't, but there is so much like cross. This week, I'm actually judging the Accounting Excellence Awards for Bookkeeping Team of the Year. And oh my goodness, every year that I've done it, I think this is my 4th year, the number of entries is growing and growing and growing, because it's not something to be ashamed of. When I first said to my business coach, I think I want to start a community for bookkeepers and help them build businesses. And she said, are there people like that? Yeah. Do they actually, would someone join that? And I was like, I don't know, but I really need it. And you know, everyone looked at me like what's you know, why would you do this? But you know, I know that I'm a bookkeeper through and through. So I've sold my practice, but I'm listening to you, Natasha, and I'm like, oh God, I want to start another one. My husband says, my husband's like, no, Joe, no, you've done it 5 times. That's it. But I know that I'm a bookkeeper through and through, because I can feel your passion, and I can feel the passion of all the bookkeepers around us, and we are different. And this is why the AI and software that's coming in is only going to make us better. But that human element, it can't be taken away. This passion can't be taken away. It's really exciting.
And AI still needs to be trained. So it's the fact that I just think it will just enhance us and give us all superpowers. And we as a community are so empowering each other. We never knock people down. We always try and bring them up. And we all appreciate that everybody wants to do a different way of styles, and we all want to achieve different things, whether, like I say, whether it's financial, whether it's time to themselves, whether it's actually giving back to the community, such as ourselves. So we all just do that. And if everybody continues doing what we're doing, then this industry is very, very powerful. Everybody in it is very, very powerful. We are making a massive change to the accounting and bookkeeping world.
We are industry disruptors, Natasha. That's what we are. If anyone wants to follow you, Natasha, find out more, learn about your book, etc., where's the best place for people that are listening now to reach out and connect with you?
Okay, so the main place is on my website, which is www.bewitchingbks.co.uk, or follow me on the Maverick Revolution on Facebook page, where everything's all on there. The book has done absolutely phenomenal. It actually has blew my mind, because it got Christmas #1 on Amazon. Wow. And it's had over 6,000 downloads now since November, which when I did it, all I wanted to do was help people. The downloads, by the way, is for free. I chose not to profit from it. All I wanted to do was help others. And if it just helps one person, then that's done my job.
Amazing. Congratulations. Thank you.
And I must say thank you to Sage Auto Entry by Sage for sponsoring it, because they were the ones who really helped me put it all together and get it out there. So and Sage has just been awesome all throughout. So that's my big plug for Sage. So thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next week for another episode of the Bookkeepers Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.